full, so there are protocols in place to separate staff and students on lunch breaks, and there are mask-wearing rules.
So we're not differentiating at this point between vaccinated and unvaccinated. We are trying to keep the school as safe as possible for everybody.
So this will be our second full year under COVID, and this will be our largest group of people in our buildings under COVID conditions. That's why the many layers of safety are in place.
Such as HEPA filter machines in certain rooms of the schools.
We had to go through and assess all of our school buildings with respect to mechanical ventilation systems, passive exhaust, all your different varieties based on building phases.
Play-Doh is porous, so kindergarten kids will all get their own so they don't have to share, but some rules have been relaxed.
You can now share materials as long as you focus on hand hygiene, etiquette, and respiratory etiquette, as well as washing and disinfecting of the manipulatives.
Rules are much the same at the Catholic board, with some exceptions. Catholic high schoolers learning from home will use a webcam to access the same classes as those who are in person.
And what's nice about this, in the sense that the peers are amongst their other peers within the classroom, and they have classroom courses that are going to assist them moving forward on their pathway. So no courses are left behind.
A parent we talked to says he has no concerns about safety.
I mean, they had him do an orientation day. So he went to school, they showed him around the classes, he played at the gym and everything, so they pretty much got him ready.
The Catholic board has a policy where everyone attending the schools has to disclose whether they are vaccinated, and if not, staff and students have to take a rapid test. Both boards want the province to make vaccinations mandatory for those who can. CBC is working on getting a response from Education Minister Stephen Lecce.
Both boards have further information on their websites. Dale Molnar, CBC News, Windsor.
The Public School Board is trying to save this year's football season. At its meeting last night, trustees voted to get the helmets and coaches certified as soon as possible. And it comes after regional school boards decided to cancel the sport last week.
We're sitting in the middle of a fourth wave, a week for school to come back. I cannot, in good conscience, for all of those reasons individually, let alone all of them together, ask our administration to reverse their decision. We like football. We want it to happen. So all these rumors about that we're trying to get rid of football, look around you. We're not. We want it to happen, but we need it to happen safely.
About 1,000 public board students play the sport. Players and parents were protesting the board's earlier decision to cancel the season. Now, as they try to salvage that season, it will suspend all extracurriculars until at least October. That's based on a recommendation the local health unit issued due to rising COVID-19 case counts. Let's take a look at those COVID numbers today. 46 new cases, according to Windsor, Essex County's public health unit. That average daily increase for the past 7 days, it's been around 70. Active COVID cases now below 500. 70% of those involve variants of concern. There's 16 workplaces in outbreak, 3 community outbreaks. The health unit also warning about a possible exposure at Wild Child Nightlife on Olette. Now that took place August 21st from 10 at night until 1 the next morning. Those who were there during that time are asked to get tested for COVID immediately and watch for symptoms. Now, it may have been the push that some people needed. Just a day after announcing that Ontario is bringing in a vaccine passport program, the province says bookings for vaccinations already up. More people getting their shots is one recommendation that experts say could help us avoid a worst-case scenario during this pandemic's 4th wave. Lorenda Redicop has a story.
People coming in to get their shot today have a range of reasons.
Because Doug Ford is implementing the vaccination passport. And I want to be able to go to the gym, movies, I want to enjoy my life.
If it came to a birthday party and our children weren't able to attend because somebody found out I wasn't vaccinated, that's not the stigma that I would want to put on my children.
Some doctors say vaccine clinics today were packed.
So some people have obviously mentioned the vaccine certificate announcement from yesterday. Other people were telling me about mandatory policies from their workplace. We obviously have some kids that are getting ready to go back to school, and they're coming in for their either first or second doses.
The Science Advisory Table says vaccinations need to be way higher now with the Delta variant. At least 85% of eligible people, not the 76% we're at now. And their projections are shocking. possibly 9,000 new cases a day by early October in the worst-case scenario, less than 500 in a best case. That dotted line is the current trajectory, around 3,000 cases a day. And ICU admissions, in the worst case, could hit 900 by mid-October. Though Ontario has never hit a worse scenario.
I really think that we will not have to pivot back to lockdowns.
The Science Table's scientific director says people need to reduce their contacts, see fewer people indoors, and perhaps go back to working from home. Plus, not get too relaxed about the incoming vaccine certificate.
If people continue to do the right thing and don't think, oh, I'm now, I'm having indoor dining and everybody else in here is also fully vaccinated. We just let everything just slip and we become complacent. We wouldn't be in a good space.
Dr. Isaac Bogosh likes seeing that big range of possibilities laid out by the Science Table.
We can essentially choose our own adventure, for lack of a better word, and choose our trajectory.
He says upping vaccinations is important, but that high-risk workplaces and neighborhoods also need supports. Without those, he says, we'll see the same spike from earlier waves. And the worst-case scenario isn't out of the question.
And if we throw caution to the wind and pretend COVID doesn't exist, we'll get there. It's not impossible, but it would be a tremendous failure.
Lorenda Radikop, CBC News, Toronto.
Continuing our coverage on the Wheatley explosion, we've been looking at abandoned oil and gas wells in Ontario after the municipality says it believes that's where the source of the gas leak was that was discovered just before last week's explosion. As we told you last night, there are thousands across the province. An industry group based in London, they want federal money to clean them up. Well, people wonder if it will ever be safe to return home.
Out of the blue, we just experienced this huge, enormous bang.
As work begins to pick up the pieces,
blood, debris, people down.
memories of the explosive moment pour out.
It was pretty scary. There's going to be a lot of work to do just to ensure that I even feel safe going back. It comes down to your municipality, your provincial, but I think there should be something federal going on.
These wells, which are no longer in use, can be detrimental not only to our environment, but to people's health.
Last year, a federal program set aside $1.7 billion to clean these abandoned wells up, saying it would keep people employed, help hit environmental targets. The money backs programs in Alberta, Saskatchewan, and British Columbia. Costs to clean up a well, it's hard to predict, anywhere from $100,000 to millions of dollars per well. Ontario isn't part of that program, but an industry group wants in. The Ontario Petroleum Institute is a nonprofit made up of oil and gas producers, contractors, and engineers, first founded in 1963. OPI says there are thousands of wells in Ontario that need to be reclaimed, that they pose a potential risk to landowners and public health. They've asked for $250 million to do the work, and it's something they've done before. In the last 16 years, OPI says it's remediated hundreds of high-risk wells in the province at a cost of $23 million through Ontario's Abandoned Works program. OPI requested a meeting with the federal government to discuss its proposal in April 2020. They got a letter back but didn't get a meeting. OPI asked to discuss things again this year, sending another letter on August 19th, a week before the explosion in Wheatley. Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland's office says they got that request. We asked her about it while she was in Windsor today.
I am very aware of the challenge that orphan wells pose across Canada. I think that people here in Ontario will appreciate that while it's a meaningful challenge in Ontario, it is a very significant challenge in the provinces that have been much more dependent on oil and gas exploration in their economies. And so I think it's absolutely appropriate and right that the first focus of our Orphan Wells program was in the energy producing provinces where that is just such a massive part of economic activity.
Back in Wheatley, a virtual town hall will answer questions this weekend, but Strasso wants action.
We've been in danger. It's seeing what it did and how it's affected everybody. and the repercussions from this not being handled. Who cares where the money comes from? It's more like fix it and worry about that stuff later.
And we asked for an interview with the Provincial Minister of Natural Resources again today, Greg Rickford. We've asked every weekday since the explosion 7 days ago. In response, we were sent copies of statements we've already included in our coverage. They also said the province is helping pay for the work being done in Wheatley. The minister has not been made available to answer any questions. We'll keep putting in requests. All of this is coming up as we are in the midst of a federal election. So we wanted to find out what the candidates running in Chatham, Kent, Leamington would do about abandoned gas wells if they were elected. And while we were not able to reach the NDP candidate, we did manage to speak with the Liberal and Conservative candidates.
I don't have solid background information to really make a good comment on that, but obviously we can see the destruction here and the concern for safety. So we've got to do something. And in this, if there's one here and there are others around, we need to do something. I'm not sure where the mandate is or where we are with assistance, but I can guarantee you that our government will be trying to help to keep people safe the best that we can. And, obviously the safety of Canadians is our number one priority.
My office has been in contact with the Ontario Petroleum Producers. We've been in contact with former MNR officials. We've been in contact with different folks trying to gain intelligence exactly of where are some of these wells that could pose danger. What are some options that can be done? We have to be respectful of our lane, of the jurisdiction of the province and the lead of the municipalities, but we are actively working on gathering the knowledge and trying to contribute to the way forward here.
Now, since the initial discovery of leaking gas in June, the municipality has been asking the Ministry of Natural Resources to take a leadership role in finding the source. The ministry says it's been involved since hydrogen sulfide was first detected in the area, providing technical expertise and advice. It also started working with an external consultant about it in August. We asked the local MPP why he thought it took so long for the province to get someone in place.
I don't know why it took so long. But again, these things do take time. They want to make sure that they can get, once they deem that they can identify, perhaps what the cause was, then and only then can they then seek out the proper expertise for a company to go in and actually do it. You don't want to send in the wrong type of company to do an investigation.
As far as what's happening on site today, the Ontario Fire Marshal continues to investigate but is expected to complete their work this week. The municipality, they're talking with the province to see who will take on the work after that. Debris being moved from the area with the Ministry of Labour investigating as well, since people were injured. And as we mentioned, residents will be able to ask questions to the municipality Saturday morning through a virtual meeting. The leaders of 4 of the main parties are pretty much off the campaign trail today. They're gathering in Montreal for tonight's French language debate. Green Party leader Anna-May Paul was not invited. NDP leader Jagmeet Singh is the only leader who had an organized event today.
Hope some of this poutine will fill you, not just your stomach, but fill you up with some optimism. Definitely give me some feedback because this is my own personal recipe, Punjabi poutine.
Singh was providing lunch for some Montrealers campaigning with local candidates. He spent most of his question and answer period with reporters attacking the record of the Liberal government. Now, Liberal leader Justin Trudeau in Montreal as well. He did some whistle-stop campaigning with local candidates. Now, if you've got a driver's license, health card, license plate sticker that expired during this pandemic, it's going to be time to renew it. The province lifted renewal requirements when the pandemic took hold in March of last year, but now that pause is over. Residents have until February 28th of next year to do this for most of those documents. If your driver's license would have expired between March of last year and this coming February, you don't need to renew it in person anymore. You can just do that online. If you missed the deadline, you'll need to pay the renewal fee for both 2020 and 2021. Another sign of things returning to normal, having to go get renewals of those things that we kind of were able to let slide for the last little bit. Nick Serkovich will slide in with the weather forecast once we come back after this break. Parts of New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania have just been slammed by rain and storms left over from Hurricane Ida. At least 14 people have died linked to these weather conditions.
This is what happens first. Everything has to settle down, stabilize, make sure we're protecting life and property, job number one.
Take a look at what they're dealing with. Record-breaking rainfall, flooding the New York subway system, forcing it to shut down. Basements, parking garages filling up with water. The city saw 80 millimeters of rain in 1 hour. Officials in New York calling it historic. The city declaring its first ever flash flood emergency. Mick joining us now. We look at these almost weekly now, these events that are just historic. They get called, the record amounts of rainfall. It's just tougher and tougher. I know we're heading into a long weekend. There's joy there, but it's just a reminder of...
Yeah. I mean, we keep shattering these records, Chris. Yeah. And, you know, when you look at some of the numbers, I mean, you mentioned the almost 80 millimeters of rain that they saw in Central Park in an hour, okay? Like, I mean, that's incredible. I mean, if you put that in context, a lot of cities in southern Ontario get, let's say, close to 700 millimeters of rain in a year. So, I mean, we're talking about in an hour getting more than a tenth of the rainfall that we would see in an entire year. Pretty incredible numbers. Newark, New Jersey seeing over 200 millimeters of rain with this event. It's now pushed off into Atlantic Canada, still seeing some rainfall warnings there. And behind it, though, what we're looking at is generally clear skies. I actually think this model's being a little bit pessimistic on the cloud cover. We're looking at, for the most part, clear skies heading into tonight and tomorrow. So tomorrow's a mix of sun and cloud to sunny skies. Saturday, kicking off the long weekend, pretty good, mix of sun and cloud. Saturday night through Sunday, though, we get a line coming through. Could see some isolated thunderstorms in there, but certainly some showers, and then some lingering showers possible on Sunday. So not a wash for the weekend, but still, I mean, we're expecting to see some rainfall. I'm hoping most of it actually comes Saturday night into Sunday. That's what it looks like right now. Generally clear skies there, 24 degrees right now in Windsor. Still seeing some gusty winds up to about 40 kilometers per hour in some areas like Sarnia. Those winds are going to peter out as we head through tonight and tomorrow. We should see lighter winds through tomorrow than what we had today. Conditions tonight, single digits for a lot of people. Fog patches developing through the overnight tomorrow. We're looking at highs close to the seasonal mark, about 23, 24 degrees. And there's a look at your 5-day forecast. We got Saturday with some cloud cover there. There is the chance of seeing showers, but I think it's going to be a late day event if we see it. Some cloud cover moving in, though. Sunday, again, the risk for some showers, but I'm thinking more toward the morning. Monday doesn't look too bad. And then first day of school for many there, 25 degrees. And, well, partly cloudy skies. So there's a look at your forecast, Chris.
Not bad at all. Thanks for this, Nick.
Yeah, you bet.
Coming up next, we take a check-in over in Tokyo for the Paralympics update. With the Kabul airport not currently in operation, border crossings in Afghanistan even more crucial for Afghans trying to flee the Taliban, as well as for commercial traffic. The CBC's Susan Ormiston is in neighboring Pakistan and has this report.
This convoy of trucks has just left Afghanistan, bringing fresh produce into Pakistan. We've seen things like tomatoes and onions and cotton goods, all coming from the border crossing just about a kilometer down this valley, a very important economic link for both countries. And it is open now, but there's long lineups, sometimes days of lineups of these trucks trying to go back and forth. How does he feel about the Taliban taking a new government?
Everything fine there. The government is good because we used to pay money, but now we can free.
We were down there for a couple of hours today, and we saw just a trickle of Afghans coming into Pakistan. The country has said with 1.5 million refugees here already, they can't handle tens of thousands more, so they're only letting in those for medical emergencies or who have business on either side of the border. The UN is warning of a humanitarian crisis in Afghanistan, and this kind of commerce going in is a critical link, especially with the airport closed. So these trucks are going into Afghanistan. We saw young boys down at that border hiding in the wheel wells of trucks coming from Afghanistan. Once into Pakistan, they jump off with bags of what looked like produce over their shoulders to go sell in the market. The UN is warning that up to 500,000 Afghans may try to flee their country by the end of this year. They'll be trying to get to land borders like this, but in many places they're blocked from moving on. Susan Ormiston, CBC News at the Torkham border crossing in Pakistan.
Canada picked up 2 silver medals on day 9 of the Tokyo 2020 Paralympics, making it 18 in total at these games. Devin Harreau with more on the day's competition.
Day 9 at the Paralympics was always going to be about 2 of Canada's brightest stars, Brent Lakatos and Aurélie Rivard, back in competition a day after winning more medals for Canada. So let's go to the Tokyo Aquatic Center first. 25-year-old Rivard out of Quebec, swimming in the 100-meter backstroke event. And guess what? She didn't disappoint. Swimming to silver, it's her 5th medal of these games. She has 2 golds, 1 silver, 2 bronze. Incredible stuff. She has 10 medals in her Paralympic career. Now to National Stadium, where Brent Lakatos, 41 years old, looking for a gold medal at these games. He already has 3 silvers. In an interview yesterday, he says, "I just want gold." He has to settle for another silver. In driving rain, less than ideal conditions at National Stadium here in Tokyo tonight, Lakatos trying to push for gold, falling just short, finishing 2nd. His 4th silver medal of these games, and incredibly, his 11th career medal at the Paralympics. Much more ahead, 3 days left of competition in these games. Mark this one on your calendar. Canada's sitting volleyball team going up against China in the semifinals, 7:30 a.m. Eastern time, back home Friday morning in Canada. It's the first time this program has made it this far at the Paralympic Games. So get ready for the finish. Extensive coverage continues. Devin Harreau for CBC Sports in Tokyo.
A vaccination clinic in Montreal has found a unique way to help those who are a little hesitant to get that first jab. They've employed something called zoo therapy. Zoo therapy. Take a look at what they've got on site.
And the people that aren't coming, what we're hearing from people when they finally do come in is that it's fear. A lot of fear that's keeping them away. Not fear of the vaccine, but fear of the vaccination process.
He distracted me very well, so he was really good because I didn't feel the injections.
That's Petite Jones, a cockapoo who has been able to ease some of that pain, some of that fear when people are walking into the clinics. Now, if they do decide to get a job, they're pretty much guaranteed to make a brand new friend in the process. pretty neat, some of the ways that we're trying to find ways to spread that joy at those vaccination clinics. That's it for us here at CBC Windsor News. Don't forget, for news anytime, you can go to our website, cbc.ca/Windsor. We're on social media too. Find us on Facebook, you can find us on Instagram, you can find us on Twitter, and you can find the Rick Mercer Report right after this. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.